Okay, well, here we go. You guys all know who this is. This is Bill Gates. And his solution to everything isn't water filtration or mosquito nets or hydroponics or solar power. His solution is a syringe with a vial. Vaccinations. Well, if you'll notice, he's got one of these really neat corporate headquarters going too. See those 3 arches there, ladies and gentlemen? There they are. You see, once he's done with his job, they're going to stand those arches up in that monument you saw. So what we've got here is we've got the vaccination agenda, and we've got the wireless agenda, and that results in the total depopulation. Now, what's the plan here? Well, how are they doing this? Project Inkwell. This is a consortium of businesses and educators. And they've written a manifesto. They kind of pretty much guide the direction of schools, the curriculum. It's called Project Inkwell. Kind of sounds innocuous, except they have a manifesto. And like Kaczynski had his manifesto, these people have a manifesto. And the aorta of their manifesto states, that's the heart of their agenda, the last end connection to broadband internet in schools must be wireless. Must be wireless, ladies and gentlemen. It's everywhere. Agenda 21 is a dirty word politically. It will get you immediately thrown out of any political circles that you're in. And you know what? Screw them, because they're worthless. There is nothing good about having fake friends and phony political connections. They will get you nowhere, and they will turn on you on a dime. Agenda 21 is all about getting the population down and getting us into the compact cities. Now, you all hear about this bullet train, and it's a big contentious topic on talk radio, right? Why are we doing this? Why are we spending billions of dollars? I have a gentleman in the room here, Mr. Delano, who has spent years documenting this Agenda 21 rollout of how they're going to cram everybody into these humongous cities. San Francisco, San Jose, LA, Santa Ana, San Diego. This bullet train is going to get built, folks, whether you like it or not. Remember Gavin Newsom back around the Prop 8 days? That's what he said about Prop 8. It's not going to go through. It's the same thing with this bullet train. It's going to go through. You can't stop it. You want to know why? Because it's been predetermined that we're going to live in the Hunger Games. We're going to live in these walled-off areas, and 99% of the United States is going to be rewilded. They're going to turn it back over to the wolves. They're going to let you paint with all the colors of the wind so you can worship nature, and they're going to make you live in these hellholes called a compact city, and they're going to put a bunch of people all over the streets, so what they can do is blame the homeless people for spreading the disease, and what they're going to do is they're going to make these microwave systems induce all kinds of illness, so they come out with a vaccine and inject everybody. And you're going to be looking at people who are going to be disappearing like during the Nazi regime, because they're emptying the jails for people like me and you. That's who they're going to put in these jails, folks. The people that dare to speak up against what's going on. Gary just came back from the Los Alamitos City Council meeting, and it's lawlessness over there. You got a bunch of people saying F the United States on the steps of a city council building when it comes to standing for the Constitution. I mean, they're emptying the jails, the bottom's falling out of everything in terms of morality. And what's happening to our children, folks, is just off the charts. All right, I think I've said enough about the children. You know, I was going to be a meteorologist. That was my plan, because I was able to figure out what day to go fishing and what time of year to go fishing and what rod to bring based on how well my apricot trees did and which way the wind blew. And I knew this from age 10. I used to take my bicycle from Garden Grove down to Balboa Pier at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning to get a spot with all the farm workers. That's where I learned my Spanish. But it was an amazing time because the weather was natural. And when we had a cold front come through, I remember seeing Maclovio Perez on Channel 2, and he'd be standing in front of this big image, and it would be from the Gulf of Alaska whipping around all the way to Baja. And it would make landfall, and it'd rain for 3 or 4 days, and all the mosquitoes would fill the rain barrels I was saving from my dad's garden. And then the clearing wind came through, that northwesterly wind. We've had 2 clearing winds in the past 4 days without a drop of rain. Not one drop of rain. We've had 2 systems come through here. The spring rain should have dumped rain. And what did we get? That's what we got, folks. That stuff is not normal. That stuff was not around when I was a child. That stuff started appearing over Southern California in 1994. That's not water vapor. Those are metallic nanocompounds, metallic aluminum and barium and other metallic compounds. They want this stuff in your bloodstream. And there's a reason they want everybody full of aluminum. Number one, you're going to become a great antenna for the 5G propagation. Number two, we all know what happens when you microwave metals, right? You know, when I was a young man, I had a job at Carl's Jr. It was my lunch break, and I stuck a famous star in the microwave. I was a stupid kid. And I walked away from the Amana radar range that we had, a nice heavy-duty commercial one, for about 5 minutes to go into my back to get something out of my locker. And I came back, and the thing was like, it looked like a fireworks show in there. And it was, somebody pulled the ansels, all the halide fire retardant came down out of the ceilings, and I shut the restaurant down based on me microwaving a hamburger. Now, that device ran on 110 volts of electricity, but it had enough power to turn a metal wrapper into a device that created 1,000,000 volts coming off of the tips of that metal. That was the dielectric breakdown of air in that microwave oven. 1,000,000 volts out of 100. Now, if you put metal into people, and if you stick a Wi-Fi router in a room, I don't care if you got 1 watt. It depends on the surface configuration of these metals, and they can engineer them to be amplifiers. Anybody in here with electrical engineering background knows what I'm talking about in terms of broadcast and reception. So anytime someone tells you that there's low power and it's safe, they're full of baloney. I just want to show you some interesting pictures of Orange County. You know, this is back in the 60s. I'm just going to go through a few of them here. You never saw this stuff. This is Disneyland in the 50s and 60s. And then this is the intended goal here, folks, is this big ridge of high pressure that never seems to go anywhere. You know, it's just endless. Another one of the videos taken down by YouTube. This is the kind of stuff that they keep spraying and spraying and spraying. Here's the patent on the geoengineering, and ironically, it's right out of my own neighborhood in Los Alamitos where I work. I mean, there's the patent on, used aircraft. I mean, what are they doing now? They're making satellite technology and Raytheon bottom, and it's all RF emissions now. Folks, none of this stuff is crazy. What's crazy is they've got everybody chasing money and watching a ball game and getting their nails done as Rome burns. And Rome's burning, folks. It's burning. It's been burning for a long time. So what they do is they got to ramp up the sleeping gas administration. They got to put more crazy sex-crazed crap on the television, and they got to make the sports more bloody and gory and violent. And they've got to now figure out a way of dealing with people like us who are trying to raise the awareness. So they got answers for that too. Tinfoil hat, crazy conspiracy theory, right? That's what you're going to hear. These aren't conspiracies, folks. Zonia and I had the opportunity to go up to the Capitol a couple of years ago to try to stop this wicked agenda of forced vaccinations. And at the time, we had an assemblywoman. Her name is Young Kim. And we wanted to talk to her because we're her constituents and she's supposed to work for us. And, well, we wanted to talk to her about this law. She wouldn't meet with us. As a matter of fact, her staffers told us that this topic was off the table. Why would anything be off the table if you're a legislator and your constituents want to talk to you about it? Well, she's bought and paid for it. She's running for Congress, and she is not worth the dirt she's walking on. So if any of you are in the district where Young Kim is running for Congress, she ignored the parents, ignored the constituents, and voted to pass a draconian vaccination law based on a staged measles outbreak. Paul Walker, I think a lot of you know who Paul Walker was, right? He was a famous actor, race car guy. His car was blown up. It was not an accident, folks. He was in the middle of exposing steroids that were being put in the aid for the Philippine typhoon victims. And he was about to come forward, and they blew his car up. That's what they do. When you really reach a certain critical mass, they'll kill you. I want to talk to you about vaccinations. And Zonia and I have talked about this many times, but if you're going to mandate that someone take a product and ingest it or consume it as a condition of whether it be employment or school-age entry, why would you not have it tested for certain things? Well, on every vaccine insert, they're telling you that the vaccines have not been tested for mutagenic potential, carcinogenic potential, or impairment of fertility. Did you hear what I just said? None of these have been tested if they sterilize you, if they've given you cancer, or if they're poisoning you. But yet, we have all these little kids that have to get 65 of them just so they can do this all day and get irradiated. How is it ethical? How is it logical? How is it legal that we force this demonic crap on our children? How is it? Why is it? Well, once again, what we've got in our hands here is depopulation, because it just so happens that one of the vaccines has been conveniently mixed in the required battery of immunizations. It's called tetanus. And if anybody knows what tetanus, if you remember, it's lockjaw. You're supposed to get tetanus if you step on a rusty nail, right? Well, first of all, rust doesn't have tetanus spores on it. Tetanus is a disease that is found in the soil and in the fecal matter of diseased animals. And the way people were getting tetanus 100 years ago is they were working on a farm, and a nail went through their shoe that had manure in it, and it depunctured one with the manure, and the spores got in there, and the infection took off. It is not a communicable disease. You can't catch tetanus from kissing somebody or sitting on a toilet seat or not washing your hands from touching a doorknob. Why are they making kids get a shot for a disease that's not communicable? Why are they making kids get a shot for something that has had no real serious problems in terms of a health issue for hundreds of years? For example, annually in the United States in the 19th century, it's about 500 people a year died from tetanus, but 30,000 were dying from smallpox. Why are we not forcing kids to get a smallpox vaccine? No, we're forcing kids to get a tetanus shot. Now, if I was the devil and I wanted to sterilize young girls with a vaccine, what age do you think, or what grade do you think I may want to do this? How about 7th grade? How about puberty? Well, this is demonic Dr. Pan. He is a medical doctor. He's also a state senator who authored this bill, and that's Ben Allen, his partner in criminality here. Based on a staged measles outbreak at Disneyland that involved no school-age children, and it has yet to be determined that the current MMR vaccine was even capable of having any efficacy against this strain of measles, they allowed no political crisis to go to waste. And they immediately drafted this law that fits in to the eugenics agendas like a warm glove on a snow-capped mountain on your hot little hand. Let me tell you something, folks. This was the linchpin in ensuring reproductive rights no longer exist in the state of California for your children. That's a fact.